Welcome to the conversation on tonight and welcome to the program. For those of you who have subscribed to this channel, thank you very much for your subscription. And also, I'd like to say that I make content for adult people only. I don't make content for children. This is a very serious minded program, and I address issues that most individuals really don't want to address. I'm not against anyone or anybody who are doing their thing on YouTube or TikTok or wherever, they want to be known as an influencer or an entertainer. But here at Tyrone Bowman Live, we have to address the hard issues, and we try to do them responsibly and with decency. Well, I found an article in written or reported by CBS News. The headline reads, Memphis police discriminate against black people and use excessive force, the Justice Department report has indicated. The Memphis Police Department uses excessive force and discriminate against black people, according to the findings of a U.S. Department of Justice investigation launched after the beating death of Tyree Nichols after a traffic stop in 2023. A report released Wednesday marked the conclusion of the investigation that began 6 months after Nicholas was kicked, punched, and hit with a police baton as 5 officers tried to arrest him after he fled a traffic stop. The report says that Memphis police officers regularly violate the rights of the people they are sworn to serve. And might I add that all the officers, with the exception of one that murdered the late Mr. Tyrese Nichols, they were black officers. So let's point that out. You have just as many corrupt, black, excessive force using cops like anybody else. And just because you're black, you don't get a pass. If you have sworn to uphold, to protect, and defend, then why are you out there doing what your counterparts are doing, thinking that you're going to be exempt? The people of Memphis deserve a police department and city that protects their civil and constitutional rights, garners trust, and keeps them safe. Assistant Attorney General Christine Clark of the Justice Department Civil Rights Division said in an emailed statement. The city said in a letter released earlier Wednesday that it would not agree to negotiate federal oversight of its police department until it could review and challenge results of the investigation. City officials had no immediate comment on the report, but said they had planned to hold a news conference Thursday after Justice Department officials hold their news conference in Memphis on Thursday morning to address the findings. Police video showed officers pepper spraying Nichols and hitting him with a taser before he ran away from a traffic stop. 5 officers chased down Nichols and kicked, punched, and hit him with a police baton just steps from his home as he called out for his mother. The video shows the officers milling about, talking and laughing as Nichols struggled with his injuries. Nichols died on January 10, 2023, 3 days after the beating. The 5 officers, Tadarius Bean, Demetrius Haley, Emmett Martin, Desmond Mills Jr., and Justice Smith, were fired, charged in state court with murder, and indicted by a federal grand jury on civil rights and witness tampering charges. So, to bring facts to where they are, whether you all like it or not. Facts are facts, and I'm not going to cover up for black corrupt police officers either. The report specifically mentions the Nichols case, and it addresses the police department's practice of using traffic stops to address violent crimes. The police department has encouraged officers in specialized units, task forces, and on patrol to prioritize street enforcement, and officers and community members have described this approach as saturation, quote unquote, or flooding neighborhoods with traffic stops, the report said. This strategy involves frequent contact with the public and gives wide discretion to officers, which requires close supervision and clear rules to direct officers' activity, the report said. But the Memphis or the MPD Police Department does not ensure that officers conduct themselves in a lawful manner. The report says prosecutors and judges told federal investigators that officers do not understand the constitutional limits on their authority. Officers stop and detain people without adequate justification, and they conduct invasive searches of people and cars, the report said. Black people in Memphis disproportionately experience these violations, the report said. MPT has never assessed its practices for evidence of discrimination. We found that officers treat black people more harshly than white people who engage in similar conduct. The investigation found that Memphis officers report to force likely to cause pain or injury almost immediately in response to low-level nonviolent offenses, even when people are not aggressive. The report says officers pepper sprayed, kicked, and fired a taser at an unarmed man with a mental illness who tried to take a $2 soda from a gas station. By the end of an encounter outside the gas station, at least 9 police cars and 12 officers have responded to the incident, for which the man served 2 days in jail for theft and disorderly conduct. In a letter to the Justice Department Civil Rights Division released earlier Wednesday, Memphis City Attorney Tenaria George Gibbons said the city had received a request from the DOJ to enter into an agreement that would require it to negotiate a consent decree aimed at institutional police and emergency services. A consent decree is an agreement requiring reforms that are overseen by an independent monitor and are approved by a federal judge. The federal oversight can continue for years, and violations could result in fines paid by the city. It remains to be seen what will happen to attempts to reach such agreements between cities and the Justice Department. Once President-elect Donald Trump returns to office and installs new department leadership, the Justice Department under the first Trump administration curtailed the use of consent decrees, and the Republican president-elect is expected to again radically reshape the department of priorities around civil rights. We already know what he's going to do. This is a no-brainer. He already said what he's going to do. He's going to do exactly what he said. So whether individuals like it or not, things are about to change. It's going to be a rough ride. A lot of people think they're going to have a legal license to do whatever they want. Until the city has had the opportunity to review, analyze, and challenge the specific allegations that support forthcoming findings report, the city cannot and will not agree to work toward or enter into a consent decree that will likely be in place for years to come and will cost the residents of Memphis hundreds of millions of dollars, the letter said. The officers in the Nichols case were part of a crime suppression team called the Scorpion Unit, which was disbanded after Nichols' death. The team targeted drugged, illegal guns, and violent offenders with the goal of amassing arrest numbers while sometimes using force against unarmed people. Memphis police never adopted policies and procedures to direct the unit, despite alarms that it was minimally supervised, according to the Justice Department report. Some prosecutors told department investigators that there were some outrageous inconsistencies between body camera footage and arrest reports, and if the case went to trial, they would be laughed out of court. The report found that the unit's misconduct led to dozens of criminal cases being dismissed. In court proceedings dealing with Nichols' death, Martin and Mills pleaded guilty to the federal charges under deals with prosecutors. The other 3 officers were convicted in early October of witness tampering related to the cover-up of the beating. Bean and Smith were acquitted of civil rights charges of using excessive force and being indifferent to Nichols' serious injuries. Haley was acquitted of violating Nichols' civil rights causing death, but he was convicted of 2 lesser charges of violating his civil rights causing bodily harm. The 5 men face sentencing by a federal judge in the coming months. Mills and Martin, well, you can believe they're not going to be pardoned by the Trump administration. You can believe that. There'll be no pardons for them. Martin and Mills are expected to change their not guilty pleas in state court. According to lawyers involved in the case, Bean, Haley, and Smith also pleaded not guilty to state charges of second-degree murder. A trial in the state case has been set for April 28th. Justice Department investigators have targeted other cities with similar probes in recent years, including Minneapolis after the killing of George Floyd, and Louisville, Kentucky, following an investigation prompted by the fatal shooting of Breonna Taylor. In its letter, the city of Memphis said the DOJ's investigation only took 17 months to complete, compared to an average of 2 to 3 years in almost every other instance, implying a rush to judgment. Whatever. Y'all got caught. Never surrender.